From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
You don't have to just fight off pests outdoors, but indoors.
They hide in cracks and crevices that are about the size of a credit card in diameter.
How to win the battle against bed bugs. Not your typical dairy farm.
It's amazing that the cameras that are on the booms are seeing weeds that I can't see as an operator.
Now this producer is driving technology for his farm as the southern part of the country faces wildfires and heavy rain.
We're unsure about the direction of the fire at this point.
The latest as lives and livestock hang in the balance right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when experience meets expertise. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths at our studios in Kansas City as the Farm Journal editors discuss those big stories impacting farmers and ranchers. Now, one of the biggest is the weather and concerns surrounding it between high heat, devastating fires in New Mexico, and floodwaters from a tropical storm in Texas. We get the very latest on it from Laura Aguirre.
Rain is good for putting out fire. The rain is not good for pretty much everything else.
Definitely not good for miles of fire-scorched earth in New Mexico, where heavy rains have turned wildfire-ravaged roads and towns into flood and mudslide zones, which could worsen as Tropical Depression Alberto threatens rain for the state on Friday.
We're unsure about the direction of the fire at this point.
Two massive blazes continue to burn with little to no containment, leaving at least 1,400 structures destroyed so far. The human toll also growing more tragic. The son of a man found dead in Ruidoso Tuesday says his father's broken leg prevented his escape.
It's heartbreaking to know that he didn't make it, to know that he was trying to run for his life.
The National Hurricane Center says Alberto will start to lose some of its punch now that it's tracking through central Mexico. Still, its impact along the Texas coast has yet to subside. 51 counties there are under a disaster declaration. Corpus Christi reported a 3.5-foot storm surge Thursday morning, and water levels are expected to rise even more with high tide. And it's yet another scorcher for much of the Midwest and Northeast. The National Weather Service predicts extreme temperatures could persist into the weekend, potentially reaching 100 degrees in cities like Washington, D.C., a mark not seen there since August of 2016. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting for AgDay.
Laura, thanks. Taking a closer look at southern New Mexico and the fires burning in Ruidoso. The fires at last report said to be 0% contained, now covering more than 23,000 acres. Crews reporting extreme fire behavior on Tuesday with strong winds. Officials say some people are reluctant to leave their homes, many concerned about their livestock as well.
Well, yesterday I had a chance to tour the Livestock Holding Center as well as a temporary humane shelter for pets that have been displaced. There's a really good plan in place. And in fact, donations have come in as far as Farmington, New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, both for pet food, for hay. We have currently the facilities within the Mescalero Apache Reservation to be able to hold both people's domestic pets, livestock, and as far as the wildlife concerned, look, there's going to be a loss of wildlife in the area. And this is an area that is rich in wildlife, everything from bull elk to mule deer. But we have a large enough Lincoln National Forest that we do believe some of those animals will be migrating into much safer areas. Unfortunately, fire is something that we will have to continue to deal with. It has always been a constant here in New Mexico.
It's reported the fires burning near Ruidoso were caused by lightning strikes. However, the New Mexico State Forestry Division says the cause of the fires remains under investigation. Meanwhile, that part of New Mexico and portions of the upper Midwest could be in for some rain. Meteorologist Jack Van Meter joins us with the latest.
Yeah, just taking a look at temperatures around the nation, it's still going to be pretty hot into this weekend. Look at this heat wave just still building over the middle part of the country, and we're not going to get much relief in those lows. Only 77 degrees in St. Louis, 72 out in Chicago. Down south there, still in the 70s, so it's going to be hot in the day and unfortunately still hot in the night. Looks like we have another day of record-breaking heat as well, 100 degrees and 111 degrees on in Phoenix, I should say. Now take a look at this. While some areas of the country have seen high heat and heavy rain, earlier this week in Montana, Brendan Mossholder, a football coach taking part in a summer camp at Minnesota State with snow falling, saying he never thought he'd be coaching in the snow on June 17th. Something different for sure. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
The world used up record amounts of oil, coal, and gas last year. That's according to a report from the Energy Institute. It says global fossil fuel consumption reached a record high, up 1.5%. While greenhouse gas emissions from energy use increased 2.1%. However, researchers also found the world is adding renewable energy sources at record levels. It says the growth was driven almost entirely by the rise in wind and solar power. Global biofuels production increased by 8%, with the biggest increases seen in the U.S. and Brazil. And it says dependence on fossil fuels in major advanced economies like the U.S. appears to have peaked. Are cases of avian flu finally slowing in at least one state? Michigan, one of the states hardest hit by H5N1 in dairy cattle, has so far this month only reported one additional impacted dairy herd. However, USDA APHIS is currently reporting 109 cases in dairy herds, but still in 12 states. As for human cases, there have been 3 reported since the start of April, with 2 of those cases being in Michigan and all tied to dairy farm workers. Now, all 3 have recovered, but the CDC says preliminary findings indicate the American population has little to no pre-existing immunity to this virus, the agency basing that on blood samples taken from the previous 2 flu seasons. They show low antibody levels against this virus. However, researchers continue to say the risk to humans right now remains low. A Pennsylvania man is home recovering after getting trapped in a grain bin. It happened in Antrim Township. That's right on the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. And crews from both states responded to free the man who was trapped chest high in corn. Responders rigged up ropes, harnesses, and other grain rescue equipment to get to the man, and with the aid of a tractor-mounted grain vacuum, they were able to get him out in about 4.5 hours. He was treated at the hospital and then released. Still ahead, we've seen some recovery in milk futures, but what are summer prices looking like? We dive into the dairy market coming up. And later, a dairy that is so much more than milking cows. See how they're driving technology to help the environment and their bottom line. It should come as no surprise, but the latest Rural Main Street Index has sunk below growth neutral for the 10th straight month. This month's survey of rural bankers coming in at a reading of 41.7. That's down from the 44.2 back in May. Ernie Goss of Creighton University, who conducts the survey, says higher interest rates, weak ag commodity prices, along with sinking ag equipment sales push the reading lower again. One banker says farm operating loans are up 20% in total volume compared to last year, which is a sign that cash flow and cash balances are down from last year. Also worth noting, after 53 straight months of being above growth neutral, farmland prices declined for a second straight month. Milk futures had a nice recovery this spring, but what is the outlook for demand, and what could that mean for summer prices? AgDay's Michelle Rook has more in Markets Now.
Joining us with Markets, Brian Doherty with Total Farm Marketing. Brian, let's talk about milk prices. Class 3 fluid prices had a nice run up off the April lows, like $5, got above $21. Now where do we go?
Yeah, good question. I remember when prices, like it was a long time ago, back in March and April, though, we were talking about, boy, why isn't the the demand market buying this hand over fist. It's on sale. It's good value. And it did. It just took a while to catch up. So the market doesn't always move on, let's say, our time or an analyst time. But it did. Now it's to a level, though, where you have to be realistic about inflation. You have to be realistic about supply. Can demand hold up at these levels? Unfortunately, I'm going to go into the I doubt it category. Like anything else, it had a strong run, short covering, good investment money bought in. You do have some summer weather, but I will make the argument that summer weather is different today for most areas than it was 10, 20 years ago, where cows are more comfortable. We don't usually see the production drawdown. So big picture, it has to come from the demand market. It looked like cheese has leveled off near $2. Looks like butter has leveled off. So unless these components really start to take off, it certainly looks like the milk market kind of had its spike.
So from a demand perspective, do you think that demand is stalled out just because of the inflationary environment that we're in?
Well, there's that, and you got to keep in mind where the dollar is. The dollar's been on the rise, and we saw really big, when we're talking about why isn't cheese, well, they did move, and they moved on really good export activity the second half of winter and the first half of spring. And then they waned a little bit, and now they've come back some. But I think that the higher dollar and inflation just keep this in check. We're not, in my view, developing new demand sectors.
So talk about marketing advice.
Just human nature. Boy, if I can only get X, I would sell. And then all of a sudden, sometimes it comes, and it usually comes really quick and then disappears. And then people give you all the reasons why they were going to do something. So get your orders out there, whether they be hedges with a brokerage account, whether they be forward contracts, whether it be purchase of puts, or whatever instrument you want to use.
Thanks for your analysis, Brian Doherty with Total Farm Marketing. We'll have more AgDay coming up. Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rourke on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
To discuss marketing strategies, call 800-334-9779.
That severe storms risk for Friday, we can see a broad area as that jet stream really narrows down right in front of all that ridging that's brought us those high temperatures. We can see four corner states stretching all the way up into Wisconsin. We do have that very narrow risk for severe storms. Remember, with these severe risks, brief downpours, strong winds, and even some small hail will be the main risks associated with that. On Saturday, though, it's a little more situated with the Great Lakes region, really sponsoring right around Wisconsin down into Iowa and parts of northern Missouri as well. So that's what we're looking like for precipitation, major precipitation for Friday and this weekend. It looks like our only major shots of moisture. And it's too bad because look at our new drought monitor. We can see that parts of Montana are still pretty dry. Severe drought actually starting to set in there. But as we zoom in here, we can still see that southeastern New Mexico still very dry, even in that extreme and exceptional drought, sadly, as well. Southern Texas, too, along the Rio Grande, pretty dry as well, even moving north up into the panhandle of Oklahoma and Kansas, still seeing those drier conditions. And a new addition to the drought monitor has been parts of the Midwest, again, that are really fully experiencing this heat dome and lack of moisture. The only moisture they're getting, actually, is those little brief small pop-up thunderstorms, and hopefully that will be happening, or that will start to dress down later this week as that jet stream finally starts to break apart. We can see that heat dome finally getting out of here, and by Sunday that jet stream starting to dip down and get a little bit of a trough. We can see much of our rain will be in this narrow corridor, and by Sunday and Monday we get this cold front coming down with this trough, bringing us the chances of more precipitation moving into the week. Now let's go ahead and get into a little bit of those local forecasts. Mexico, Missouri, 85 degrees, low of 75 degrees. Malta, Montana, 90 degrees, low of 73 degrees. And finally, Lillington, North Carolina, 80 degrees, low of 60 degrees.
Coming up, protecting the environment while cutting costs. We'll visit a dairy operation that has managed to do both in our new series, Driving Technology, next.
Driving Technology on Ag Day is brought to you by John Deere. No matter where your operation is with technology, John Deere can help you take the next step. Keep your farm moving forward with John Deere Tech to fit your equipment and your operation.
Would you be able to cut the chemicals you use on your crops by 60%? Well, one dairy farmer has found a way to do it. He leads off our new series of reports called Driving Technology. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan has a look at what he's doing on his farm in western Michigan.
Settled just south of Holland, Michigan, it's always busy on Scenic View Dairy. But this time of year, between the 2,000 head of cows being milked and the crops in the field, it's bustling.
They look pretty good this year. They had a little bit of a slow start. We got some heat right now that's really making them turn around and looking good.
Brian Geerling says it was a wet spring, which caused planting to see a bit of a delay. But just ask Geerlings, this operation is much more than a dairy farm. They're progressive, proactive, and always on the hunt for the best technologies.
We've done several things in the last 20 years, anaerobic digesters, drones for spraying, and now this See and Spray technology with John Deere that I think have been very valuable. There are other things that we've looked at, other technologies that we've passed on because they didn't seem to be a good fit for our farm. We're early adapters of some of this technology. Yes, it's neat and it's new. I think we can be proud of what we've done, what we're doing.
This dairy opted for a used sprayer and added a precision upgrade kit with See and Spray.
We're working with some weeds that are resistant. It's really no secret that those are out there. We have a couple that are a problem for us. We really wanted to be able to control cost. The weed isn't widespread, it's in areas or spots in the field. To broadcast spray the entire field would have been very costly.
He says some spray programs can cost anywhere from $20 to $30 per acre, but by being able to see and only spray the weeds in a field, it's producing a savings even bigger than what he imagined.
I think on the one field I was seeing 26% area applied, and then on another field it was around 43%. So there are higher fields with with a higher pressure. Either case, it's still worth it, right? I save 60% in that case, and so that adds up quick.
That savings even caught their local dealer by surprise.
He showed us some maps and he was at 34% in this one field of applied, so saving a significant amount.
And field by field, that savings is adding up.
It's amazing that the cameras that are on the booms are seeing weeds that I can't see as an operator. I've been really impressed with watching the different nozzles fire on and off as the cameras see the weeds.
That's how it works. Each camera serves as a set of eyes, finding weeds so small that not even Geerlings or their sprayer operator can see from the cab.
And it's looking ahead of it and seeing the weed that it's there and just applying just to the weed.
The savings isn't just coming in costs, but also being even more environmentally friendly than they already are.
My dad always said farmers are the first environmentalists. It really fits in with our philosophy of not trying to use more than we have to.
Solid savings and uncovering even more opportunities in every field. It just may be why Scenic View Dairy truly is cutting edge.
All right, thanks, Tyne. Now we have to deal with pests out in fields and sometimes in our homes. A look at ways to get rid of those pesky bed bugs next in the country. They are unwelcome pests trying to set up shop in our homes. We're talking about bed bugs, and they are increasingly becoming a problem. LSU Ag Center reporter Craig Gautreaux highlights ways to deal with these unwanted visitors.
A person's home is their castle, but these castles are constantly under siege from uninvited guests. Roaches and ants are somewhat common, but bed bugs are becoming more problematic for two primary reasons.
The development of insecticide resistance to the pyrethroid class of insecticides, which we commonly use indoors because of its safety profile, and increased international travel, which has allowed them to move around to new areas.
A home infestation of these parasites can be an irritating experience.
Their bites have an itchy reaction, and this can last for several days. Now, there is some emerging evidence that bed bugs are also an important source of allergens.
There are several ways to kill bed bugs, some of which do not involve the use of insecticides.
Washing them with hot water and then using the high heat setting that does kill bed bugs. They are susceptible to drowning. They do not swim very well. and so both the water and the heat can kill a lot of bed bugs.
Ashbrook is investigating various methods combining different insecticides and using heat for greater control. One problem with controlling bed bugs is they are very elusive.
Bed bugs are very good at hiding. They hide in cracks and crevices that are about the size of a credit card in diameter. So if you can fit a card in there, a bed bug can fit in there as well.
Ashbrook says patience is required when dealing with an infestation because bed bugs are difficult to eradicate in an indoor environment. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gautreaux reporting.
All right, thanks, Craig, and that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day in Farm Country.